Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity with me, Bring It On. Let's go ahead and pillage Galvino's study. I believe we've read that before. It doesn't count as stealing, so he can get as upset as he wants. This appears to be a crude rendering of the mountains surrounding Durgan's battery. Okay, let's level everybody up, starting with Minea. We'll save those for athletics. Absolutely. Stalwart Defiance. Strengthen Savage Defiance, causing it to provide a bonus to all defenses. That adds plus 10 deflection, plus 10 fortitude, plus 10 reflex, and plus 10 will for 15.8 seconds. Alright, so Peasant has the Unarmed. So Weapon Focus Peasant, we've read it before, not going to read it again. Just gives him plus 6 accuracy to his unarmed strikes. Can't go wrong with that. And for our new Rogue, focus entirely on mechanics, don't care about stealth. But maybe I should. Let me look at something else first. Alright, so I have a couple of options here. I could have her dual-wield dagger and rapier. Or she could be my pistol user. And have a stiletto as her melee backup. I think because I have so many melee characters currently, I'm gonna have her go pistol. I like that, but she's gonna be ranged, so I'm not worried about it. Yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't take this. A Dirty Fighting. The rogue employs a variety of underhanded tactics, turning some of their hits into critical hits. The plus 10% of hits converted to crits. Yeah, we'll grab Vicious Fighting. Improves the rogue's skill with devious maneuvers, increasing the percentage of the rogue's hits that are converted to critical hits when using Dirty Fighting. There's actually a plus 10% chance. So I'm starting to rethink this whole ranged build with her. Yeah, we get Deep Wounds. Expertise in the Art of Pain leads all slash, pierce, and crush damage caused by the rogue to also do raw damage over time. Not a lot, but it ignores DR, so you can't go wrong with it. That seems pretty good. A Shadowing Beyond. Allows the character to temporarily turn invisible. Enemies cannot detect invisible characters, and attacks made from invisibility automatically count as a sneak attack. Attacking, casting a spell, using a special ability, or using an item will end the invisible state. So I've rethought this. We're going to make her melee. We're going to have a full melee party. We're going to swing by Stalwart real quick. I'm going to respec her. We're going to take a breather, restock my camping supplies, then come back to Durgan's battery.
Right.
Alright, well, let's go and finish leveling her up then so I can... I'm not actually going to look at any of this since we're going to respec her anyway.
Huh?
Got it done.
And it leveled her up again. Fantastic. So what I might end up doing is actually making Pallegina my dedicated pistol user. She has a lot of ranged burn abilities currently. And I like the idea of building her around it, but she also has auras, so I want her close to the party. So I take that back. She's going to remain a second line melee fighter. So I think I'll just stick with my initial plan and make Grieving Mother.
I missed this place. Had that much right.
Make Grieving Mother my dedicated pistol user.
Village was a touch livelier when I saw it last. Ain't saying much, though.
Her head swivels as she looks around. What do you remember about Stalwart?
Bitter cold and a persistent odor of fish. And that were just the people.
Why did you want to come back anyway?
Anything's better than Galvino's workshop. You ain't heard the old buzzard sing.
He turns away again.
Anyway, what about you? We seen lots coming through, trying to crack the battery, but no watchers.
He looks back at you, her black eyes glittering. There's another group that passed through before me. I need to know what they were after.
Ah, looking for someone. That's a familiar yarn.
She nods slowly, rocking her head on broad, steady shoulders.
But don't let me keep you from the sights and sounds of Stalwart. They're easy to miss.
She rests her hands on her hips and turns to look around. Now let's move on. We'll talk to her later. I want to respec her first.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you?
Let's read his soul. You see a room dark and damp. A cellar. It looks like part of the inn rather than an old fortress. Through Hayfrick's eyes, you You admire rows of gleaming bottles, recently dusted and polished. As you step back from the shelves, you look on with satisfaction at a pressure plate concealed in the stone floor.
You got the look of someone with his teeth around a secret.
Her cold fingers are locked around your arm. Her black eyes search you.
Glad I'm not the only one who knows not to trust your kind, Watcher. You do well not to trust hers.
You all right? I won't serve you if you're already drunk, you know.
He squints at you. Old Miser keeps the best stuff in its cellar. So I hear.
Nothing like a pint to take the chill off.
Want to take a rest real quick. Whoops.
Back to warm your hands, eh? What can I do for you? Nothing like a pint.
Alright, let's try this again. So do weapon focus noble instead for the dagger and rapier, because I think we have a unique version of both. Dirty fighting again. Seems really good. Or mechanics. Not gonna worry about stealth yet. Vicious fighting. That plus 20% chance to crit. I do like deep wounds, so we'll keep that. Shadowing Beyond, also pretty good. We will get backstab. That's a staple of the rogue class anyway. A lot of good stuff here. Let's get Riposte. The rogue looks for openings to counterattack in combat. Incoming melee attacks to target deflection and miss or graze have a chance of allowing an instant full attack riposte. Only active with melee weapons equipped. It's a free attack. We'll get Backstab here. Dramatically increases damage done from stealth or invisibility. The rogue may use melee or ranged weapons, but must be within 2 meters of the target. Plus 150% melee damage. Exit real quick.
Uh-huh.
She wants to talk again.
Didn't think there was anything more than lice and hoarfrost to these folk, but you had a look back there. What do you find when you're rooting around like that?
Nothing important.
Yeah? And I'll bet you could do the same to anyone in this village. Easy as looking at 'em.
She watches you intently. Why do you want to know?
Mayhap I'm looking for someone. Woodcutter by the name of Harmka.
Her eyes slide into their sockets. Tell me why you want to find Harmka.
So I can kill him. Wrap my fingers around his throat till he's as cold as his wretched village.
Her fingers tighten into fists, the metal squealing and rattling.
He was one of them. The mob that destroyed Cold Morn.
Oh. She's tied to the village that rolled over for Widewind.
I tracked him to Stalwart years ago, but got caught before I could finish my business.
Dark, iridescent whorls appear and fade on her chest plate. Heat ripples from her metal carapace. You want me to help you murder someone?
Oh, don't go all soft on me. He's had it coming.
A note of cold fury buzzes within her.
This man, Harmka. I saw him outside my house the night it burned, staring into the flames the way I seen you stare into souls.
Her fists clench and loosen in a series of rapid, random movements.
I knew it were a fool's errand trying to hunt down every man and woman that carried a torch into Cold Morn. But
She twists her head from side to side and holds up a hand. The delicately engraved palm empty, but grasping at something.
If I knew I got the one responsible for my kin and my hearth, I might could rest easy.
How can you be so sure about this Harmka fellow?
I took a good long look that night. Ours was a little place with a yellow door right on the edge of town. He was there.
She nods slowly.
Besides, I asked around when I first got to Stalwart. Townsfolk said that all the woodcutters in town took part in the purge. Point of pride for them.
A small plume of heat rises from a seam in her skull. What does this have to do with me?
I told you he was part of the mob. I spotted him watching my house when it burned. But when we find him, I want to know if he's the one responsible for my home, my parents, and my brothers and sister.
One of her thumbs rubs absently at a scratch on her hand.
I never thought I'd have the chance to know for sure. But you could look into his soul and find out. You being a watcher and all.
I'll do what I can.
Mighty fine of you. Mighty fine indeed.
She nods again, her head bobbing along to a drowsy cadence.
Don't know where he dallies these days, but someone in Stalwart could tell us. People from little villages, they always know.
The black marbles of her eyes scrape against her sockets as she looks at you. That's all. Okay, we'll talk to her later. Alright, let's get Adept Evasion. The rogue becomes especially skillful at dodging attacks, converting many reflex hits to grazes. The plus 75% of incoming grazes converted to misses, and 50% of incoming hits converted to grazes, targeting reflex only. I do fast runner with her, so she can get a position a little faster. Seems pretty good. I should give that to somebody. Or Bloody Slaughter on her, that sounds good. All attacks at enemies with low endurance convert some hits to crits, and those crits do additional damage. Plus 20% of hits converted to crits against targets with low endurance. Plus 0.5 to crit damage multiplier against targets with low endurance. So I could do this, but we also have... two more conditions. A little too micromanagey for me. If it was turn-based, maybe I could see about applying that, but... I might go and get this. A persistent distraction, which is like smoke cloud, but it's all the time. As long as I'm targeting the same enemy. Whenever the rogue is contributing to the flanked affliction on a target, the victim is also distracted. Okay. Let's go ahead and get... actually get Interrupting Blows. Increases the chance to cause an interrupt with any damaging attack. The plus 15 interrupt. I wonder if that works with the Barbarian's Carnage. Bound and Buried is complete. The Grieving Mother was unable to find the source of the rumors plaguing Road's End and the surrounding earldom of Hell's Gate. The local authorities assisted in breaking up mobs, punishing would-be murderers. Sorry, murderers, not murderers. And preventing more young women from being buried alive. A particularly large and violent mob at Kell Hill Cemetery required Grieving Mother to rally the local soldiers to put down the primary troublemakers. On the body of the biggest belligerent, Grieving Mother found an odd, magical rope that he intended to use on a local young woman. A wizard advisor of the Erla of Hell's Gate suspected that the rope had been created by the same person responsible for spreading the rumors and inciting the attacks in the first place. Cool.
Right here.
Alright, let's carry some equipment. Alright, so there's our dagger. We should have a rapier around as well. I know Aloth has one equipped. Here's the other one. Yeah, plus 5 accuracy, 10% of hits converted to crits. Already a fantastic option for her. And plus 5 accuracy and plus 1 enemies engaged. Huge fan of dual wielding, but I think it's fine on rogues. One of the few classes I'm okay with it. And barbarians in some cases. They have a corrosive here. Keep doing that. Why do I keep going all the way back? I'll hold off on this for right now. We have corrosive. I don't want to do freezing in this DLC, so maybe burning. Alright, let's get some other equipment for her as well. It's out here so we can sell it. Sure. Be critting a lot. That should work out. Any belt will do. Oh, can't equip that on her. It's fine. I know helmets or rings to give her yet.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see how she
Back
does.
to warm your hand, Jay. What can I do for you?
Do you know a man named Harmka?
The woodcutter? Sure do. Head west from the village, then go north. If you see the frozen stream, you've gone too far. Usually works a stand of trees out in the russet wood, though he steps out from time to time.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Be careful how far you follow this revenge plot. It may bring her some small satisfaction, but I doubt anything good will come our way.
Yeah.
Alright, I mentioned a pressure plate downstairs. We read his soul. It'd be cool if by just default you could read people's souls when you spoke to them, as a watcher.
I'll see what's ahead.
That's possible. I was just referring to the traps.
Whew, good thing I sold most of my jewelry.
Good thing I'm freshly greased. Right here. Good thing I'm freshly greased.
Yeah.
I read his soul too. Oh, what can I do for you, Ogre Slayer? Fancy a roll of the dice? For a moment your senses are overwhelmed. There are fumbling hands at your belt, your own low laughter in your ears. Your shoulder is jammed up against the cabinet. It rattles every time Beardwind leans down to kiss you. There's a sedate pleasure to the memory, but nothing in it has much to do with the battery.
Huh?
I was going to speak
Right
to
here.
the devil. Black marbles of her eyes scrape against their sockets as she looks at you. Galvino said you murdered several people before he transferred you.
Effigy's eyes, that man loved to talk.
Her eyes roll in their sockets. Tell me why you killed those people.
If it's sane and logical reasoning you're wanting, you're gonna be disappointed. Ain't no sense in any of it.
I've heard parts of your story from others. I'd rather hear the rest from you. A soft hissing noise comes from the bronze golem. You recognize it as a sigh.
Mayhap you've heard of Coldmorn. Was a quiet, forgettable patch of the woods. Till a pack of rabid clodhoppers set it afire.
The fingers of one hand twitch and click against one another in a pair of sudden, spastic motions. What exactly happened to Cold Morn? A sudden burst of heat flares from her seams as her essence surges and boils.
A farmer on the other side of the mountains woke up one day with his head all aflame and took it for the gibbering speech of his god. And so did a few thousand of his countrymen. So when he tired of Vorlus fields and marched west, a horde of armed Hicks followed.
You're talking about Widewind and the Saints' War.
Bunch of fool nonsense is what I'm talking about. But others have called it the same. If you know that much, then you've heard of Cold Morn. Ours was the village that let a few thousand of Widewind's troops pass through.
I guess you didn't have much choice.
Try telling a few hundred crazed Yearwoodens. We got news of the Raid Sarens coming through the mountains. Begged the Duke for help, we did.
He sweeps one bronze palm across another, metal screeching.
Didn't send us so much as a bare-ass novitiate. They went to towns with full coffers and lofty connections.
She crosses her arms over her plated chest.
So we let Widewind soldiers pass. Left him for the Duke to wrangle on his own terms.
You hear a soft clink as she flicks her wrist. So Coldmorn was purged in retaliation.
Was after the Godhammer made a fine grit out of Widewind, when Deerwoodens were running on rage and looking for something to burn.
Catch glimmers and glints at her seams, as razor-thin wires pull tight within her body.
They came at dark. Hundreds of folk. Every one of them mourning someone lost in the war.
A dry chuckle ticks in her throat.
Must have decided it was our duty to escort their dead back to the wheel. They didn't light their torches till they had us surrounded. Time we saw 'em, there was a ring of fire closing around us.
She pauses. The mechanism in the back of her skull clicks dully.
I woke. Ran to the window. Whole village were a maze of flames. Couldn't see nothing for the smoke. And the screams.
Her thumb spasms to a strange, rhythmic beat.
Most ran for the streets. Got caught by the mob. Others hid, let their houses burn down around them.
What did you do to What did you do to survive?
Ran, fought, hid, burned. Same as my neighbors and family. Just luckier.
What does that have to do with your crimes?
Hunting down the men and women what took part. Thought that much was clear.
You couldn't have hoped to get them all.
Well, we just gotta do our best with what time the gods give us, don't we?
She barks with jangling laughter. But you only kill people who attacked Coldmorn, right?
Sure.
Her voice is flat, as expressionless as her face.
You want me to tell you straight? I found the men and women what destroyed my village, and I burned their houses down around them. Sometimes they was alone, and sometimes they wasn't.
She shrugs. What exactly did you hope to accomplish?
It were a mob that destroyed our village, but it was just one man that burned my family's house.
She pauses.
Kept hoping I'd get to him as I was working my way through the rest of those maggots. No matter now, I suppose.
A sigh rattles out of her bronze skull, but her essence whips and twitches, as restless as a cat's tail. You and Galvino had an unusual relationship.
Only kind to have with someone like him. Or me.
She crosses her arms. You resent him.
No other way to feel about the man who flayed my living soul.
Metal squeals as she shifts her folded arms. How long have you two known each other?
Around about 13 years. Too long, you ask me.
He claimed he made you.
He'd spread butter on bread and claim he made something. Never been accused of modesty, that man.
Her eyes roll wildly.
He managed to stuff my soul into this heap of bronze, true enough. Maybe that makes him a genius. Also makes him a son of a bitch.
She drums her fingers along one scratched bicep. Did you ever consider murdering him?
Every day. Just kept putting it off. It's not like either of us was going anywhere.
What exactly did you do for him? She regards you for several seconds. She shrugs.
Looked after his tools, cleaned the workshop, swung the sledgehammer. Oh, and snatched up travelers for his soul tinkering.
What are you talking about?
All those other golems, where did you think they came from?
She cocks her head. Yeah, we talked to him about this. We already knew
But
this.
don't you worry. They were all bad folk.
Thank you for telling me.
Just so you know, you got a real professional working for you.
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I've had enough of him too.
She drops her arms, relaxing her posture. About Durgan's battery.
Just 'cause I'm made of metal don't mean I got any special fondness for smiths and forges.
She flicks the bronze of her forearm, producing a dissonant ring. Do you know anything about it?
No more'n what Galvino already told you.
Any thoughts on which villagers I should check?
Long as we get to Harmka, we can search whoever you please. Let me know if you need someone in a chinlock.
Do you remember any of the other expeditions that came to Galvino?
Nothing specific. Everyone looks about the same when they got their fingers up their noses.
She pauses thoughtfully. Then, her head snaps forward in a tiny, quick moment of realization.
Only the last group, one before you. There was something different about them.
Three of her fingers clench and spasm.
Couldn't put my finger on it, but they was dangerous. Almost felt the hair on the back of my neck.
She runs her hand along the smooth, segmented bronze of her neck.
Ain't felt that way about anyone else walking through Galvino's door, that's for sure.
Never mind.
Murder? Tracking and the best materials for kindling. Those are more my area of expertise.
What was your life before the Saints' War?
There weren't much to say about it. By my reckoning, that means it was pretty good.
He nods thoughtfully.
Ma was a trapper, taught me to set snares and dress game. Dad was a tinker. I never had his patience, but it were fun to watch him work. My brothers and sister, they was good folk too. Part of me's glad they ain't here to see me now.
Her face is as blank as ever, but her essence ebbs and writhes. She turns away.
Huh?
Alright, so we've been having a little bit of trouble with an almost all melee party as it is. So, it'll be interesting to see how this party pans out. Let's go ahead and read a couple more souls. What do you think, stranger? I think I'm getting better. Read Andred's soul. A handful of memories dart across your mind like startled fish, leaving indistinct images and sounds in their wake. For a moment, you are overwhelmed, until one particular recollection tugs at your senses with stubborn force. You, or Andred, or both, kneel on a stone floor, held between two men. The man pacing in front of you wears the armor of a crucible knight. You feel Andred's half-hearted contempt for him, as if it were your own. You feel Andred's triumph too. The knight comes just close enough for you to spit blood onto his boots. The memory slips away from you, and you find yourself back in your own shoes. Farewell. I read Birtwind's soul. The whiff of salt and brine is in your nostrils before the room is even faded. The ground heaves beneath your feet, and a spray of ocean water roars over the railing as the ship heels under the wind. The ship shudders violently, and you're thrown against the railings. In that moment, you find your gaze pulled to the pitching surface of the dark sea, and see there an eye, broad as a shield, gazing back at you in turn. Fear and fascination sweep through your mind, even as your senses recede and the memory fades.
Yeah.
Alright, then we call the episode here, and the next one will continue reading souls around the Stalwart. So I thought about it, there's also it's a dwarf back here. Hasn't had a quest associated with her yet. There's also the dwarf in the house to the northwest of Stalwart. So my guess is one of those two, or the one that we're looking for. Either way, gonna call it here for now. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys in the next one.